It's my honor, my very honor, to introduce to conservatives the next president of the United States, Herman Cain.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle. You're wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, shucky ducky. I had somebody ask me, well, what does that mean? That means we're going to have some fun. That's what it means. I know that you're not used to seeing a presidential candidate that likes to have fun, but I do. I like to have fun. I can be serious. We got to deal with the issues. I am so glad to see you here because that means that you are patriots and you care about this country. Yes. We are so delighted to be here. We have been on a bus tour all day around Michigan. And then I have the political talking heads. Well, why are you in Michigan? Well, there are a lot of good people in Michigan. And based upon the crowds that we've had all day, I got a lot of friends in Michigan. And I do appreciate that because Michigan is going to be a player in this upcoming primary season because of the way they have modified the schedule and changed things around. You guys are going to be a player, and that's why we wanted to spend some time here, and I wanted to have an opportunity to come and meet you, share my message, and to be all over the state. It's been absolutely exhilarating all day. You know, I am a native of Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I grew up. That's where my mom and my dad raised us in Atlanta. My mother was a domestic worker. My dad was a barber, a janitor, and a chauffeur all at the same time because he needed 3 jobs until he could make it off of 2 jobs. He had 2 jobs until he could make it off 1 job because he believed in working he believed the old-fashioned way. If you want something, work for it. That's what you believe. So that's where I came from. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth and all that kind of stuff. We didn't even have a spoon, let alone a silver spoon in my mouth. But that's where I started. My parents raised my brother and I in Atlanta, and they basically instilled in us 3 enduring beliefs. Believe in God. Believe in yourself. And believe in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. Believe in it. If you can't make it in America, you can't make it anywhere. Because this is the way this nation was founded by our founding fathers. And they got it right. The founding fathers got it right. Throughout our 235-year history, you've had some people who tried to redefine it or change it. No, they got it right the first time. It's called the Declaration of Independence. They got it right. And when they said in the Declaration of Independence, when they said all men are endowed by their Creator You are endowed by your Creator. You are endowed by your Creator, not the one assigned by the president or assigned by Congress, by your Creator. My Creator is God Almighty. With certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are just some of the unalienable rights. I happen to believe that they were talking about some others when they said among these. That meant that there was some more. And I happen to believe that they were also referring to another unalienable right. The right to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect your property. The Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. That's what they were talking about. I happen to like my guns in my Bible. I'm going to keep my guns in my Bible. Because that's what the founders had in mind. This nation has become a great nation because of those founding principles. This nation has become a great nation because of the Declaration, the Constitution, and our free market system. We have the biggest economy in the world. And the reason we have the biggest economy in the world is because of those founding principles and our free market principles. But lately, the American dream has been hijacked. The American dream has been hijacked. It has been hijacked by those that would change those founding principles. It's been hijacked by those who believe in big government, more taxes, and less individual responsibility. I happen to believe that the majority of American people want less government, less taxes, and more individual responsibility. And that's why I'm running. Because, like all of us, the reason you're here is because you care. You could have been home sitting in your easy chair, drinking an adult beverage, watching TV, but you care. A lot of people care. Well, if you watch Fox News, I was on it, so you wouldn't, that would have been okay. But that's because we care. This nation, in the last 3 years especially, look, this has been coming for decades. You know, the growth in government, the growth in taxes, too much regulation, it's been coming little by little by little. But in the last 3 years, it has accelerated. And as a result, we have become a nation of crises. We have an economic crisis. We have a spending crisis. We have an energy crisis. We have an illegal immigration crisis. We have a foggy foreign policy crisis. We have a moral crisis. And the biggest crisis we have is a severe deficiency of leadership in the White House. Is our biggest crisis. You see, leadership starts with listening to the people. That's where it starts. But we have an administration and a president that didn't listen to the people. We didn't want Obamacare. We didn't want cap and trade and tax and kill. We don't want all of this regulatory onslaught that's coming out of this administration. We did not want a president to go around the world bowing to everybody. We didn't want that. And we don't have to take that. Because leaders listen. And I've been listening to you. I've been listening to the people for a long time. I just didn't start when I thought about running for president. No. I've been listening to the people a long time. I've been in business for over 40 years. I always listen to my customers. I always listen to my employees. I listen to all of the people around me. This is how you come up with good ideas in order to fix stuff. I guess so. Fix stuff. That's what leaders do. The American people are hungry for solutions, not more promises. Let me tell you about some of the solutions that I offer. These are some of the solutions that we have developed, because this is what I'm hearing from the American people. The biggest domestic problem we have is this sick economy. Is the economy. This is why I have put a bold solution on the table. Now the politicians say, well, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? It's too bold. In one of the debates, even Senator Santorum said, well, Herman's plan won't work. It won't work because it's too bold. You see, therein lies the difference between a politician and a businessman. Right there. A politician proposes stuff that they think they can get passed. A businessman proposes solutions that will solve the problem. That's the difference. I'm about solving problems. Imagine when I became head of the National Restaurant Association, all I wanted to do was to sort of, propose stuff to the board of directors that they were going to say yes to rather than fix the problem. Here's how we fix this economy, folks. We first start with throw out the current tax code. Throw it out. We have been complaining about the tax code for decades. Some of us have been the victims of abuse by the IRS. We spend $430 billion a year trying to file, comply, and stay out of jail because of the tax code. We've been complaining about it forever. But politicians, they don't want to just throw it out. That's why I'm saying step one, throw out the tax code and put in something different. And I have proposed a bold replacement for the tax code. A bold replacement. Something that's simple, transparent, efficient, and fair to everybody. It's called 999. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. 999. You don't need a PhD to understand 999. You don't need a politician to explain it to you. That's why they don't like it, because you understand it. 9% business flat tax, a 9% personal income flat tax, and a 9% national sales tax. They've tried everything in the book to try to kill 999. But the American people, they get it. You get it. You get it. See, she's already done the numbers on her own situation. This is what I tell people. Before you criticize 999, go run the numbers for yourself. And you will find out that we all end up with paying less in taxes. And the biggest thing, two of the biggest things, number one, we get government out of trying to manipulate us with the tax code of 82,000 pages. Get them out of the business. And one of the other big benefits of 999 is that it provides certainty for businesses. Businesses in this country have been in a state of survive for the last 3 years. I hear this all over the country because of uncertainty relative to the tax code, uncertainty relative to the impact of Obamacare. Oh, by the way, I will sign the repeal of Obamacare as soon as I get there when they bring it to me. We're going to repeal it. Now, the way we're going to repeal it is we already have a majority in the House. You've got to help us get a majority in the Senate. Senator Jim DeMint of South Carolina has a strategy to try to get control of the Senate. So if you got control of the House, control of the Senate, you've got me in the White House, we're going to repeal that sucker. That's what we do. And the liberals like to try to say, well, what you going to replace it with? Like we don't have any ideas. Well, what you going to replace it with? We're going to replace it with something called H.R. 3000, which puts the decisions in the hands of the doctors and the patient, not in the hands of the bureaucrats. Get the bureaucrats out of the way. And it provides certainty to the business community because right now there's too much uncertainty. And businesses will get back in a state of growth. I served on the board of directors of a number of corporations for the last 20 years before I decided to run for president. And in those boardrooms, do you know what we never talked about? How do we get smaller? How do we stay the same? That was not boardroom talk. In the boardroom, board members talk about what do we do to grow the company. This is what has grown this economy. Not government, but businesses. The entrepreneurial spirit in this country is what grows this economy. If we get government out of the way, off our backs, and out of our pockets, that's how we grow this economy. So that's what 999 will do. And that's our biggest domestic challenge. And when we set out to do and develop 999, we had some very simple principles, like I said. We wanted it to be simple. 999. Someone said, well, Mr. Cain, how did you come up with 9? You know, when I was a young boy, my grandparents were farmers, and my grandmother lived to be 102 years old. She lived to be 102 years old and loved her to death. I used to love sitting down and just listening to my grandmother and my grandfather. You know, older people just impart wisdom, and they don't even know they're doing it. And so whenever my grandmother had this way about her, she didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So whenever somebody asked a stupid question, she wouldn't insult them. She'd just say, bless your heart. Bless your little heart. So when they asked me, well, Mr. Cain, how did you come up with 8? Bless your heart. Well, we started with 8. That didn't produce the amount of revenue that we already collected. Then when you put 10, that's too much revenue. So the answer must be 9. That's it. It produces the right amount of revenue to replace the corporate income tax, the personal income tax, the death tax, the capital gains tax, and the payroll tax, all are collected with 999. 5 for 3. And so, when we pass 999, you will get your check and your pay stub will say under FICA 0 because we've already collected that out of 999. It's going to be a big 0. That's the biggest tax that a lot of people pay. Imagine that. So that's going to be a big 0 on your paycheck. So that's how we came up with it. And we also did what we call a static analysis and a dynamic analysis, and it shows that it will boost this economy. That's our biggest problem. Last night during the debate, all of the problems they were asking, all of the things they were talking about, everything starts with economic growth. And that's why I put a bold solution on the table. We can't tickle this economy back to prosperity. We've got to grow it back to prosperity. And that's why we put a bold solution on the table. Now, when I talk about this inside the Beltway and I talk to the skeptics, they say, well, you're going to have a hard time getting this passed. How are you going to get it passed? I said, well, it was former Senator Everett Dirksen who popularized the statement, when they feel the heat, they will see the light. He was talking about Congress. Whenever they feel the heat, they'll see the light. So when we are trying to pass 999 along with all the other legislation, and I get up on that bully pulpit and say, well, voters and citizens of America, you like 999, I like 999, Congress doesn't want to pass it. I need y'all to be the heat. Put the heat on Congress, and that's how we're going to get stuff passed. You be the heat. Because I am not going to propose legislation that's going to be so complicated that none of us can understand it. It's going to be stuff that we can understand. Because one of my guiding principles is, if the people understand it, they will demand it. And we're going to demand that we pass some of this legislation. That's how we do it. You're going to be a part of the process. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about any of these crises. My approach has worked for over 40 years in all of the different responsibilities that I've had. And it'll work in government. It's called problem solving. Make sure you work on the right problem. Assign the right priority. Surround yourself with good people. That's the key. I can tell you this, none of the ones in the White House now are going to be on my staff. Nope. We're going to clean house. Clean house. And then you'll be able to put together the right plans in order to solve stuff, in order to fix things, in order to get things done. That's going to be the difference. And it is that approach, no matter what we're talking about. And after I get elected president in 2012, the day after the election, I'm going to take a nap. I'll be tired. The next day, I'm going to start work, even before I get sworn in, I'm going to start work on the 999 legislation, getting members of Congress to support it and introduce it, get it ready so that when they go back into session, they'll be able to start the debate process. The second thing that I'm going to do in those first few days is to work on national security, because the president's #1 job is to ensure that this country is safe. And I can tell you right now one priority that I'm going to change. This president's priority is to cut defense and to weaken our military capability. My priority is not going to be to cut. It's going to be to invest in military and make it stronger and better. This president believes in cutting our military might, slowing it down so somebody else like China and Russia can catch us. That's not the way I look at it. I want to make ours bigger and badder and bolder so we don't have to look back and they'll never be able to catch us. We've got the best military in the world. The best. But we've got to do a better job of giving our men and women in uniform what they need to do their jobs. We got to do a lot better job of that. And here's another commitment that I'll make to you. When I'm president, I'm not going to send our men and women in uniform into harm's way unless it is clear what the mission is. It must be clear what the definition of victory is. It must be clear how it is in the best interest of the United States of America. And if these three things are clear, when we send our men and women in uniform into battle, they go in to win it, or we are not going to be in it. And if I wouldn't send my son or daughter, I'm not going to send your son or daughter. That's my litmus test. That's my litmus test. And then the third thing that we got to get on right away, after I take my nap on the second day. Oh, we already did that. The third thing is energy independence. Energy independence. You know, here are the facts. We have the resources to do it. We got plenty of oil, plenty of natural gas, shale oil, and coal. We are going to maximize all those resources to become energy independent. And then one of the questions that people have, well, wait a minute, if we've got all of these resources, why haven't we done this before? Well, we haven't had the right leadership. Without the right leadership and the right determination, you're not going to get it done. But we're going to have the right leadership. And then when I talk to the skeptics, they'll say, well, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? I'm going to be president and we can't do this? No. I said, why? Well, the EPA won't let you. Allow me to share with you, in a Cain presidency, what's going to happen. The EPA is going to experience a severe attitude adjustment. Yes. That's how you deal with the EPA. They are a barrier. Now, I believe in responsible regulation. I just don't believe in excessive regulation. And the attitude adjustment that's going to come about with the EPA and every other federal agency, which is why they don't like me, is that they are going to have to realize they work for us. We don't work for them. That's the difference. And then we'll be able to explore the resources here. Because you see, energy independence is not only an economic imperative, it's a national security imperative. The world is not safer, folks. We don't know what's going to break out all over this country, all over the world. We don't know. And what if something breaks out and every country in the world is involved, and then some of them decide that they are on the other side? And they decide, well, we just won't sell any more oil to the United States. So that's why it's a national security issue, as well as an economic imperative. And that's why we have got to address all of those. Yes, I've got a plan for how we're going to cut spending, because we've got to grow the economy and cut spending simultaneously. Got a plan for that too. Not going to go into all the details, but the point is this. The good news is we can fix these problems. Because if you look at the history of this country, we always have. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. But the greatest thing about the spirit of America is that it has always risen to the occasion. That same spirit of America has awakened the sleeping giant that we call we the people. That same spirit of America. You are here because of that spirit of America. That same spirit of America is what took back control of the House of Representatives in 2008. It's that same spirit of America that has this room with standing room only because you care about the future of this country, unlike the liberals who have hijacked it. That same spirit of America is what's going to allow us to change the political landscape in 2012. I'm running right now against 7 other politicians. I am the only businessman that has never held high public office. And it doesn't sound like you all are going to hold that against me. All of the people inside the Beltway, well, I don't think he has a chance. He's never held high public office. But you see, the American people have a different idea. And the thing about me, which is why I am being attacked, the reason I'm being attacked is because I'm not part of the political class. That's why I'm being attacked. I know that, and you know that. Because the American people are saying we want a president of the people for a change rather than a president of the politicians. That's what the American people want. I have achieved my American dreams and then some. And the reason I'm running for president has nothing to do with fame and glory. I have enough fame and glory. I'm running for president because I care about the future of this country. And in 1999, when my first granddaughter was born, and I looked into that little face, the first thought that went through my mind on that day in 1999 was, what do I do to make this a better world and a better nation? That was the first thought that went through my mind. That was over 12 years ago. I didn't know the answer. I just knew that God Almighty had put that thought in my mind. And then I had to allow my life to unfold. Allow it to unfold. Because throughout the course of the last 12 years, I realized even more than ever before that in life, there are 2 plans. There's your plan, and there's God's plan. Everybody is different. Everybody is put here on this planet for a different reason. Everybody's put here to make a difference, whether that's to make a difference in your community, whether that's just to make a difference in your family, in your church, in your home, in the school where your kids go, in your state. Everybody is put here to make a difference. Or whether that is to make a difference in the life of one other person, we all have a mission from God Almighty to make that difference based upon our individual talents, skills, and abilities. We are put here to make that difference. And as my life unfolded, little by little by little, I realized what journey I was supposed to be on. And I'm on that journey. Whenever I have made a decision in my career, I never looked back. Once I made the decision after a lot of prayer, a lot of consideration, and a lot of prayer, I never looked back. And I haven't looked back on this, so I have absolutely no regrets for this journey that I'm on right now. Not a one. Because you see, in 2006, I had a life-threatening experience. I had stage 4 cancer, and I only had a 30% chance of survival. That was 5 years ago. And let me tell you about a life-threatening experience. It makes you sit down and think about, what are you supposed to do with the rest of your life? I thought I was supposed to be in cruise control, playing golf, and enjoying myself. But God had a different plan. He had a different plan. And it made me think about, just like it makes everybody think about, what are you supposed to do with the rest of your life? Because when you look at your life and compare it to that timeline called eternity, your life, my life, is a speck. Even though my grandmother lived to be 104 years old, on that timeline called eternity, it's a speck. 102? 102? You 102? No, I didn't think so. You look too young to be 102. It's a speck, no matter how long. So make the most of your speck while you are here. And as Dr. Mays of Morehouse College used to remind us, no matter how long you live, my dad lived to be 56 years old, died relatively young because of complications associated with diabetes. Mom lived to be 80. My grandfather lived to be 94, and my grandmother lived to be 104. But it was just a speck. And when you look at your life and my life, it's a speck on that timeline, and we must do what we were put here to do in order to make a difference. Because Dr. Mays used to remind us, life is just a minute. Only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon you. Can't refuse it. Didn't seek it. Didn't choose it. But it's up to you to use it. Give an account if you abuse it. Just a tiny little minute. But your eternity is in it. Ronald Reagan, one of our greatest presidents, used to describe this nation as a shining city on a hill. Reagan used to describe this nation as a shining city on a hill because all of the other countries in the world looked up to the United States. They still do. But right now we are on the side of that hill because our economy is weaker. Our military is weaker. Our respect in the world is weaker. We're on the side of that hill, but we're still that shining city. And as your president, I will lead this nation back to the top of the hill where it belongs, and I will never, ever apologize for the greatness of the United States of America. United States of America.